Good afternoon. We're going to start our afternoon session, and we will be talking with a panel on the future of the industry. So let's introduce them quickly. Katherine Nuñez. She's been in the human resources area for over 15 years. She's passionate about helping teams and corporations to succeed and have great outcomes while staying kind. Also, Matías Boix. He's a senior vice president of Globant, and he's the leader for Globant X, incubator of platforms. And he also presides several commissions. Vera Babat is a clinical psychologist, and together with Mercedes Remedi, they have a podcast about essential skills. Mercedes is a co-founder of Learnix that specializes in teaching English to IT corporations. She has over 15 years experience in the team leadership and content creation. So enjoy this panel. Thank you, Arca. Thank you so much for being here for your presentation. Valentina was going to be part of this panel, Tortarulo, but she couldn't join us today. At the end, we'll have a minute to answer questions, so please write down any questions you may have. So please ask us questions at the end. We want to hear your questions. So we're going to talk about the future of today, and this is a very vast area. Just to get started, we could discuss aspects of the work formats. Pre-pandemics, there were already a lot of people working remotely, people working. Please raise your hand, whoever works 100% full-time, face-to-face in your job. What about 100% remote? There may also be people working hybrid. What does this mean for talent attraction, for talent retention, for the functions that happen in an office? So I'm next in line. What we were discussing just a minute ago is that today we have a lot of things in terms of working remotely very, very present. We are leaning towards a hybrid way of working or 100% remote. To think about going to the office every day, 9 to 5, I mean, very cool. But in many industries, this is still a requirement. But when it comes to IT, to what we work on, we're experimenting a change towards hybrid or even 100% remote work. And that's what people want. Having experienced the benefits of remote work, it seems really odd to go back to a full working method. And the hybrid work has the strengths of seeing each other physically while also maintaining the benefit of work. Because it is important to generate the that cannot always be substituted. So it's important to take into consideration what each singular person wants and how you feel comfortable working. This will not work the same for everyone. How do I generate those spaces and those ways to work? From human resource and people care, if we're going to work 100%, well, how do we maintain the human contact? And what about the office? I think that the role of the office, well, I think that the office has a role as a meeting point mostly, so that you take the time in the office to connect with your peers, to generate relationships and shared experiences, uh, rather than be, having a Zoom of the office. I think that during the pandemics, all the pandemics, and on all the talks, we were focusing on what will happen after the pandemic. So let's take a moment to think about the speed at which things have changed. We really don't know yet what the perfect work scheme is. We're trying things and paying close attention to see how people react to this. These trends used to be fixed by the office, the managers, by the corporations, and so that globalization was not actually real. Um, the industry was limited to face-to-face interactions, and during the pandemic, all of this changed, and the talent, that is the people, started to demand other things, and they started to work in a whole different way, and it empowered people within teams. So for instance, I personally really enjoy to go to the office because it's quiet, I can collaborate, I can work comfortably. But I understand that we need to offer the option that will best suit each person. So has the profile of the persons that we're looking for changed? Have the opportunities to contract with people, with employers from other places changed? Is it more competitive now than before? There may be people here today looking for a job, and these are important issues, definitely. I think that the dimension of the opportunities have changed drastically on both ends, both on the corporation's end, who's looking for employers, and on the employer's end, that's looking for a place to work in. If you want an opportunity, you have way more opportunities than before. So I think that opportunities have increased, and that definitely that increases competition. From the perspective of a person looking for a job, we have way more opportunities now than before. So I see that as a huge benefit, even though there are also disadvantages that have come with this change. So what I want to focus on was on the singularity. From both ends, we're all looking for it that are personalized for what we want, whether it's the corporation or the we're looking to have a better fit. People who are in more demanding roles and have the luxury of choosing, they can choose to look for a job that allows them to adapt to what they want, to choose to personalize their experience, whether it's remote, hybrid, or face to face. Everyone's everyone's talking about generative artificial intelligence these days. And now this allows codes to be reviewed and tested automatically. There's a lot said about a group of people that will maybe rest useless after it, but what does this automation mean for the industry? So in terms of the useless class, how much damage does the technology imply in our IT business in terms of human resources? So what do you actually know about generative artificial intelligence? Read about it, research. So try it, test it, to generate codes, to test it, to explain the process, see how it works. And this is really important. So the idea is to generate more human-like responses. And doing this was super interesting. It'd be interesting to share my results with you because I was providing inputs on this artificial intelligence to get an idea of how it works. And I had such an interesting dialogue with this artificial intelligence. You wouldn't believe it. And I am very positive by nature. So I think that in face of technological advances, we may be afraid and think about. So if you're a tester and automation becomes a new thing, you may wonder, well, what's my role in the future? Well, we need to change and we need to adjust. We need to do what comes next and continue learning in order to adapt. What are the new opportunities that will be available for me as a tester, for instance? This will change, this will bring a change, undoubtedly, this generative artificial intelligence. The speed that we need is increasingly more, and the impact was huge in just 1 week, which was more impactful than the most popular apps available. 40 million people using it in just 1 week. It doesn't necessarily mean that there will be less job positions. So when we look at the bar in the World Soccer Cup, did it eliminate the judge? No, it didn't. I think that it's not about thinking of rules. It will also bring new opportunities. So regarding the International Work Forum and the number of jobs that may be destroyed, 85 million job positions that could be at risk because of this. But it also discusses or proposes the creation of 95 million new job positions. So let's take this into consideration when we evaluate this new technology. We need to reflect and we need to be involved in this change. What about people that do not have the opportunity to readapt into new technologies that are part of those 85 million job positions that won't have the opportunity to reinvent themselves? What can we do for them? I mean, that's a tough question, that's a tough answer, which I don't think we know yet, at least I don't. But we definitely need to reflect on that and thinking optimistically about it, considering and knowing that this will bring not destruction, but new opportunities. I'm not like the Spotify algorithm. I have a certain delay. I'm sorry. I need some time to reflect. Not just talk and talk and talk and act. We need to reflect. And while we think about what those skills are, the skills that we need, the mindset is very specific. It's got to do with the mindset that we were taught as middle-aged people. The mindset is the key to be expectant and to be positive about the future. So we need to be excited about life, excited about living. If we are tired, burnout, depressed, with a negative perspective of our work, um, well, we won't succeed. We need to avoid this. In the office, when we see our peers, when we generate an environment where it's enjoyable to go to work, well, I'm going to connect with that joy of living and with a desire to build positive things for myself, for the business where I work in, but also for society. So, what do you think is the role of the corporations in this readaptation, in this adaptation of people when they face new technologies? So, many people think that corporations are the new universities of the future. What do you think about that? We've definitely seen a transformation of corporations, particularly in IT. They each time they become better in looking and searching and capturing talent, not because
Yeah.
quite on the contrary, but we, I mean, it is a very interesting issue to ask ourselves, is it the role of the corporations to discover talents and to educate and instruct talent? But whatever happens in terms of instruction, in terms of learning, corporations seem to have taken a leading role, and I think they will continue to play a very important part in the education of professionals linked to the IT world. Moving forward, things will be increasingly fast, and I think the corporations are already adapting to this.
have some time yet. The role of companies as trainers has already happened in history. There's a lot of countries, for example, post-war, companies had to have a training role to be able to work. So it's very important to collaborate with academia and with social organisms, the state, to be able to think of the solutions our country needs, our country and every country, to think of what we need, what's the training that we need, because we're shaping citizens that have to be able to adapt with flexibility to the world that's coming. So if it's just giving them technical skills to carry out a job, we're making the educational experience poorer. In line with that, I was thinking of the importance of companies being able to, that companies are places where we develop those skills. Those skills are transferable. And in that way, we can add value as well to people and to the community. Because it's not just about adding value for this place we're at. I'm going to leave this place with certain skills that are going to be transferable to other roles. So skills have to be those soft skills. They're not soft, really. It means what we are as human beings. Companies are playing a very important role in this. And companies is the biggest associations in the world. There's a lot of companies in the world, so the impact can be huge. What are those skills? Just to close, you talked about adaptability, English. I think that towards the future, skills, not only for technology roles, we're not just talking about this. Let's think about technology. Technology will go across everything. So when we talk about skills for the future, we mean for professions of the future. So we can think of an economist using data analysis. So technology will transform all professions. Ours, more in a more accelerated way. When we talk about AI, this will be transformative, and the ones connected with this will be transformed. There was a panel today where they talked about the role of the tester and how that could be successful. They're a part of a team, of a development process, to think about everything as an end-to-end process. That's critical. So testing, thinking about the customer. Those are the areas in which the human being will be more relevant. I think technology is an enabler, not to just to allow us to do more complicated things. For example, LinkedIn, it empowered the recruiter. Did it empower the recruiter? The recruiter today is like a salesperson and a data analyst. And in testing, we talked about telemetry, data. Those are the skills I think are going to be more common in the future. It's interesting. In the panel you were talking about, they also mentioned the example of testing in gaming. And they asked, so to be a good game tester, do you need to be a gamer? Well, yeah, of course. So what happens there? That previous experience of what you bring, what you have lived, what you like, what you have reflected upon in your life, is it different from your job? Your life is one, so who you are and what you bring to the job, to the table, is everything. So those skills, we call them life skills, because when we are living, we are exercising them. I was thinking, can you do empathetic testing? Thinking about the other person, thinking about what the other person needs. Maybe we can. Probably that's where we will be different from machines, and that's where we are going to give value for a long time. I used to say forever, but now I want to believe that we'll always do, but I hope that it's for a long time. Okay, we'll close with you. Do you want to add something? No, I just listening to everyone. You were processing. Yes, I was taking my time. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much. Let's give a big hand. Now, if you have any questions, what did we talk about? So all questions are answered. You talked about connection and how do you disconnect when we feel that we need to disconnect from the job? How do you handle that from the company standpoint? What do you think? That's what I would like to know. Good question. Not about disconnecting. It's about working. The fact that you're working remotely, you are in different places, you can be in other countries. Kind of work needs to for us to have a very a work ethic, and that we have really clear agreements of what is expected and what isn't. Because if we are with people that are going to feel that their jobs is threatened, they're going to feel like they have to be connected 24 hours a day, and that will generate a pressure, and that starts escalating, where at the end what you're generating is an environment of a burnout environment and a self-exploitation environment as well. We talked about Harari. He talked about self-exploitation. We are going towards that. I will add, we talked about talent and that marks the formats. There's still a factor. I don't think we should cave in the belonging area. That goes hand in hand with the culture you are in, and that's the fear the companies had. It's not just being tied to remote work. It's how do I manage to keep people connected and within the culture? So the risk of disconnecting is to end up not belonging. So if we're working all the time, what we value about the place is the tribe we belong to. So it's about belonging. When you're disconnected, you don't belong to a tribe. And that just means that your job is just a task and doesn't have a bigger purpose. I was just thinking about what Vera was saying about being explicit. That's very important. Even in every environment, when you're going hybrid, when you work there, but especially if you're 100% remote. It's a challenge. Disconnection is a big challenge. When do I disconnect? When do I have a life? So companies play a very important role there. They have to be very explicit in their ways of working. We have to be very explicit on how we want to work and how do we support people to work in a certain way. And on the other hand, I would like to mention that if you're working at a company that doesn't explicit this, for you to also raise your hand, because as people, we are part of that organization and part of what is being reproduced. So I don't have to just be quiet. I know that it depends on each person's personality, but it's important to raise your hand and to talk to someone you're friendly with and mention this, because we are part of the solution as well. While talking about the tribe, you're part of the solution as well. This is not something that has happened before. So we're learning, we're reflecting upon this all the time. What seemed like a great idea in pandemic times, maybe is not such a good idea today. What do you think is the biggest differential in retaining new generations like the Z generation, the centennials for companies? Well, I'm not really a centennial, so I wouldn't know. It's maybe we can ask centennials. None of us are centennials. I'll go back to what I was saying in the beginning. Uh, there's not going to be a silver bullet that solves all problems and adapts everything to every need. That's very difficult. The format that we have to have is one that allows for flexibility, because we all value different things. Some people value remote work. Some people value having an office. When it happened at the pandemic, when stuff started opening up, people started coming and banging on the office door to say, "Please, I need to go to the office." And some people were happy. So it's about understanding individuals, and some people are happy working remotely. Some people value the economical part more. Some people value flexibility, time. But what is going on is that it's hard to find one format that applies to everyone. You have to think about the culture you want to generate in the company. And from that, there's a big spectrum of where the line will go. What do you prioritize? But be flexible within that. The choosing of benefits. We thought if we were middle-aged, that you won't think in the same way. Oh, you're talking about yourself, right? When you say middle age. Remember to allow that spectrum and for the people to choose their own benefits. You said something in your question, retention. Something I learned. I didn't know, but I knew it, but I learned it better. By working with Abstracta Vera, the word to retain was what Matías was talking about. As an organization, we have to do a proposal, and us as people working also have a proposal and what we want to get out of that place. So it's really a decision of both parts. If we're comfortable at this place with these people, and if this is not the place, okay. If you worked for 2-3 years somewhere and you want to leave and your next step is going to be somewhere else, that's okay, but you should leave with the best experience and knowledge, and you have to be at a higher level to offer something to the place you're going to. It's important to let go as well. As a leader, we'll see it everywhere. Sometimes some companies complain that they trained people and other companies stole the employees. Well, you have to realize that maybe you were doing something wrong. So retention is a very important word, and it means to make people want to stay. Thank you for your question.